Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to our podcast. I'm Nikki.
I'm Jeffrey.
And we are starting a podcast called In Search of Progress. We're going to be sharing our entrepreneurial journey, but we're also going to be sharing our life journey, the things we're doing together, the progress that we're making, and how we deal with fear, anxiety, fear of judgment throughout all of our journeys and through life, and how we still progress whilst having these fears.
Yeah, and how we essentially try to overcome them on a day-to-day basis, and the things that we either do for ourselves, each other, or the people around us to try to get past those fears, anxieties, and things that just stop us from living the life we want, loving the person we want, and, achieving the dreams that we want. Cool.
Yep. So here we are.
Nice. First question.
Tell me.
Why did now feel like the right time for this podcast?
I think this is more a question for you, because I feel like I always wanted to do something that we could do together. Mm-hmm. And I think we've had many, many ideas about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and what will it actually look like. Mm-hmm. And I think over the years, a lot of these ideas were maybe more things that you wanted to do or things that I wanted to do. And you were working in a corporate job, so you didn't have that much time. Now we're both on our entrepreneurial journey, so it's also, we might have a bit more capacity to do things together. Yeah, I'm happy we get to do this podcast together now.
I think that's fair.
What excites you?
I'm
going to ask this because I'm excited, but what excites you about this podcast?
Happy wife, happy life. I think that's what's most important. And then aside from just a happy wife, happy life, I think the second thing that we talked about is I think it's a really nice way to actually document our journeys and our progress of the things that we're working on and the things we're doing. I think you end up spending so much time really just trying to do stuff. And obviously I've become quite a big journal, so I actually start writing down stuff quite often. So when we were having the discussion yesterday on what the topic would be, one of the first things that came out to me as soon as you were like, oh, we can talk about, our journeys or things we've done in the past, etc. I was like, that means I get to write it down and I can take the transcript and I can always have it. So I think there's an exciting part of being able to document your journey as you're trying to do something cool or interesting, and being able to understand the pitfalls and the great things and the bad things. So I think just being able to actually document and then also share the kind of lessons and the things that you go, because there's so much that you either have or you learn or that comes across, but you don't actually get to tell everyone. I've probably got a Notion filled with either frameworks or how-to guides or stuff like that I give to one person that, could...
And me.
And yeah.
Am I the one person?
Yeah, okay. You and then probably Brenton. Brenton probably gets the brunt of them. So yeah, just having those those things to actually be able to have a platform to share and talk about it and things like that.
Yeah, I think what excites me as well is the fact that we don't only get to live our journey, but we also get to share our journey. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we go through similar things that other people might be feeling, that other people might worry about, also just putting yourself out there and being it's okay to put yourself out there. It's okay to have open conversations. It's okay to be honest with others and also yourself. And I think this is also a nice thing to have, something where we get to share our journeys, and also where other people maybe can ask us their questions and we get to discuss them together and see what we would do or how we would tackle ideas or problems, and how we just would move forward with things. So I think it's an exciting journey we're starting, and we get to do it together.
Yeah, I think that's lovely.
Not that we're not doing life together already, but
I would say so, but you never know.
New activity.
You love a new activity.
I do love a new activity.
Yeah. What does the word progress actually mean to you today? And it might be interesting to be what did it used to mean to you 5 years ago?
That's a great question.
Thank you. ChatGPT wrote it.
Sick vibes. What has progress meant to me? I think I would have said 5 years ago, progress would have probably different things actually 5 years ago to 2 years ago. 5 years ago, progress would have been change, because I came from like a legal background. I came from being a lawyer. I came into this world of I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. So progress for me was change, anything, change. Like even if it's just a little step forward in that way, just to get out of what I was doing. 2 years ago, I would have said progress is small steps forward, because 3 years ago was the time when I actually started my golf social media channel, and I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be. And progress for me was posting every day, putting myself out there, taking one step at a time to make something move forward. I think progress now has evolved for me, because now progress is coming up with a strategy and a plan to move something forward that I actually want to move forward. Because 2 years ago, I would have just been like, progress is moving from X to X plus 1 to X plus 2. And like, it just was like, okay, I'm moving somehow, like I'll figure it out. But now I'm like, oh, we could have a strategy, we could have a plan, we could actually work through something. That's progress for me now. How about you?
What was progress for me 5 years ago? Progress for me 5 years ago, I had just left IBM 5 years ago, and then I would have been just starting out at math. But what progress would have been at that point would have been probably not losing all of the hobbies and things like that I had when I took the break. So I obviously took a break between IBM and joining math, and the big thing from going from one corporate to the next, and also being someone who's always trying to do like a startup or a business or something on the side, was I actually left, had 3 months off, and I didn't have any daytime friends. And after trying to like work and do stuff for the first like couple weeks, I realized I didn't have a personality or anything like that. So picking up hobbies, I had to like do from like scratch, from like trying to learn to like snowboard, learning to DJ, and like learning to kite surf. You know, I got laser eye surgery. So all these things, and like I built up like a pretty cool routine that like at that point I was like, you know, this is what I want life to feel like when I retire. Or I always want to have like these little like retirement breaks, where you can actually enjoy, pick up hobbies, learn stuff, and, you know, like actually be, you know, a person rather than just being someone who's stuck in corporate. So I think progress at that point would have been trying to hold on to that for as much as and as long as possible. Like actually how much I loved music, and how much I actually loved being outside, how much I actually loved the water, how much I liked learning new skills. I always loved to read, but, you know, just being able to do that, being able to walk. I think when you have an abundance of time, you get to actually discover yourself. So I think I never wanted to stop discovering myself. And I think that was probably what progress would have been, was trying to figure out how I could hold on to that as much as possible. And then I think once I started in the corporate, if I would have think, I guess I can do the 2.5 a year mark as well, like you did. I think at that point, you're 2 years in, everything's a whirlwind, everything's super exciting. Like I'm probably at like peak of my career in terms of like achievements, greatness, like the people that I was working with, excitement of the job, everything was cool, innovative. We're building like AI apps, Web3 stuff, gaming, team's cool, everything's exciting. And I think in 2023, at the beginning of the year, there was like a big leadership change, cuts happened, whatever projects I was working on, people I was working with, they all disappeared. So I think progress at that point, this is when I probably had the biggest mental shifts. And I had a conversation with Sammy, and I think one of the things that we talked about, and I don't remember if he said it or if I said it, but it was around the lifestyle that we had being rented. So I think at that point, my how I would have defined progress would be, how do I get out of this rented lifestyle? Because no matter how much I'm getting paid or how much people are doing, the big thing that's actually happening is someone is paying me for time that I give them as long as they want to. And then as soon as they stop doing that, then the place I live, the car I drive, the restaurants I go to, the places I travel, how I travel, all those things have to immediately stop, because then I have to reassess what I'm doing. So the lifestyle is 100% rented. So I think at that point, progress would have been, how much percentage am I moving away from the rented lifestyle and then trying to build my own. And I think now, going to the third act in terms of what does progress mean now, progress for me now would be proving to myself, because I think I'm a very optimistic and I'm not always like a positive Polly. So like if anyone in the company or anyone of like my founders, anyone like that, they're like, hey, I don't think we can do this. I'm like, I don't even understand the words of the company. Of course we can do it. Like dream big, do big things, like fail trying to like travel to the moon, you know, don't fail trying to like walk across the street. So I think when you say a lot of those things and you're quite like grandiose about like the vision and things you want to do, now I've got the time, the energy and everything to execute. So it's like I've put my money where my mouth is. So now it's like you said you were going to be able to do all these things. Now, will you do them? Will it all come to fruition? So I think part of that is, you know, my dream coming true, being able to, you know, leave corporate, do my own job, do it comfortably, you know, thanks to the people around me, the leadership of the company I was working for. And now just doing what I essentially have been telling everyone out loud that I'm going to do for the past 10 years is what progress looks like now.
Interesting. You went from like progress to hobbies and not losing something to, oh, I now get to like build the world like that I've been saying that I wanted to build, and that's progress now.
Yeah, I think those were both part of like building the world, in all those senses. Because like the thing that I didn't want to lose was a lifestyle that I was able to live.
Yeah.
So I'm always big on every year or probably every 6 months even, I do this like lifestyle journal where I'm like, what's the lifestyle that I actually want to live? Not like how much money do I want or anything like that, but like what is it that I actually want to do? I want to travel. I want to be able to walk into any restaurant. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do without any limitations, full access, full freedom, full whatever, and just be able to move through life without any concerns or issues. You know, that's the lifestyle that I really want. Be able to work on interesting, cool, creative projects whenever I feel like it. You know, help and give to people, all those types of things. But then when you work that backwards, you have to think about, okay, I want to be able to scuba dive. I want to be able to do that. What's the thing I need to do first? And, you know, make sure I'm a good swimmer, you know, number one. Can I swim before I go to dive? You know, can I balance a checkbook before I try to give fortunes to people and change people's lives and things like that? So I think that little hint in that very beginning was like, oh, this is a lifestyle. I can see what retirement would look like and how great it's going to be. And then being like, I don't want to retire at age 70 or 80. I want to retire, you know, in like 5-10 years where I can live and do all those things and not have to worry about, you know, a paycheck coming through the door, or did I chase down another client for an invoice, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting that you define progress that way because, I mean, you're also like, I guess when I look at progress, I always think about your sort of, or right now when I think about progress, I always think about like the way you do things because you're super organized and you're very good at timing what you're gonna do at a certain time. You have like very clear goals and milestones, and like I guess when I look at progress, I think of it that way of, oh, where's my list? Where's the things that I said I'm gonna do? Where are my goals? Where are my milestones? Where are my targets? Have I hit them? Progress, you know? So I think it's quite interesting how we look at different things.
Yeah, I think it's really an interesting one because I think where we have a lot of conversations on where I think you're quite hesitant to put things down in a list because you're scared that you might not complete the list, and then you'll feel bad that you don't complete the list, and you're like, oh, the list didn't get done.
Yeah, but also I think I don't actually... lists are an interesting thing because when you have a list and you write down all the things that you have to do or you think you have to do, you also kind of have to understand what order they go through. You know, like, oh, okay, I'm going to start with this, and then this will lead to that, and that will lead to this, and so on. And I sometimes don't have that visually in my head. Like, I see things as, this is something I want, this is something I want. And I think I always see like big picture things. You're like, you see the smaller things that you need to do to get to that. I see like, this is my goal and it's huge. And then I'm like, okay, how do I get there? And then I see like all of these little tasks that I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, do I start here? Do I start there? What's the best way to start? What's the fastest way? Because my brain is also like, I need to get everything done super fast. If it's like a slow process, I'll lose interest, and I'll like for example, redoing my website is like, I don't know if this is even an important task, but for me it's like, this is the start, I must redo it, I must change it. And then this is a task that I'm not supposed to be doing because I have no idea about how to do this actually. And I'm kind of like figuring it out on my own. So it's taking like a lot of time. And then I realize it's taking time and I'm like, now I'm behind on this other random task that I need to do. And then I feel like the list is just overwhelming. So that's why like when we were talking about this year's like goals and milestones, I asked you, hey, can you like help me figure out the items on my list and which ones actually have to go first, so that I don't lose so much time starting and stopping tasks.
Yeah, I get it. Like, I think for me, like, my lists are massive and they're like ever growing and always really big. But I think one of the things that I learned at like IBM or in anything, there's a really interesting thing. For anyone that has ever done any workshops or worked in design or anything like that, and you've had to do it with like corporate clients or anything like that, one of the big secrets is a thing called the parking lot. And it's essentially where all of the great ideas that people come up with during the workshop that are not on topic or are not part of the main focus, you say great idea, and then put it in the parking lot. But the secret is parking lot is essentially where ideas go to die, but we just don't tell the client. But it's like, oh yeah, we'll talk about that later. And then you move on to it the next day and no one remembers anything from the parking lot. But I think so. And I think also in design, you end up killing a lot of ideas and darlings. It's all about like brainstorming and coming up with the most amount of ideas and all the great things you can do. Every morning I journal and I probably come up with like 10 to 15 things I need to do. Some of them I like delegate and I might say, hey, Sammy, can you do that? Or Chris, can you do that? Or Mahmoud, can you do that? Or Alexa, can you work on this for me? And the rest of them, they pretty much just sit on the list. Because then what happens after the big, massive list, they go in like a database that has all of my lists, and I think it's probably got like 1,000 things that I thought of in it. But then after I do all the lists, the only thing I ask myself is, what are the top 3 things I need to do today to get closer to my goal? And I always try to, and I think it's probably easier for me to break that down because I've always been doing like lots of big vision stuff. And I think a lot of my job, like I used to work with a guy named Stu. I don't know if you ever met Stu in person, but anyways.
I've met him. I don't know in person.
Yeah,
I've
I think
definitely
on the
met
calls.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so Stu is like a creative genius. He's like the person that has like shaped a lot of the way that I work, my thinking, and like I could never compete with how creative and like how visionary this guy is. But my job, essentially, when we were working for an agency together, was to translate his big vision ideas into something practical that could be executed.
Yeah.
And I think being able to take down a really big thing and then break it into a small thing is not overwhelming or daunting to me because I'm like, well, you just got to start somewhere. And I think generally it's better to start than to never start. And I think that's just the gist of how
I mean, you're also, we can kind of move into routines here, but you're also like a really good routines guy. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, that was a really cool lesson I learned through living with you, spending a lot of time with you, because I feel like even though I did things, I actually never really had proper routines. I mean, obviously if you go to a job, you have to be there and leave and whatever, but like to actually have like routines in life as well. And I started with my fitness journey because I really wanted to get that going. And I mean, I always loved doing sports, but I've never really created a routine or a habit or anything. So I started building routines because of you. And I think that also structures your mind a little bit better, because like I wake up in the morning now, and my non-negotiable is to either go to my workout class, to do Pilates reformer, to do a run, and so on. And I set that as like a non-negotiable in the morning, and I wake up and I do it, right? And then you're out of bed, you're awake, you've already accomplished something. I love having a sense of achievement after. Not that I love the workout classes, but I do love how I feel after. And then you kind of like, you're already awake, and then you're kind of like, oh, now I get to do the next thing in my day. And I think, especially when you're not in a corporate 9 to 5, it's super important to have that, because it actually allows you to start the next part of your day instead of just, waking up whenever and then, figuring it out on the day of like, oh, what could I start now? So, yeah, I mean, like, how did you learn to build your routines?
How do I learn to build routines? I think some of it would probably just come from my parents and the fact that they are quite like consistent in the things that they do. So my dad, even if he'll go to the gym every day, but he might go for like 30 minutes. Like, he's like a master electrician. So he's like, the things you do or the things you have to like take care of when you're like working in like an empty house, you have to be quite particular. You have to make sure you're doing everything right, double check it, all those kind of things. But I think even like our family routines in terms of, the time you left school, what happened after you got picked up from school, all those things were kind of like, I wouldn't think about them as things that like, I would have been like, oh, I'm 100% a routine-based person just because of that. But when you're playing sports and you're going to basketball, you're going at the same time. When you practice, you're doing the same exercises. So all those things, you kind of like, you get homework, you have to, all those things are kind of like, you need to do them at a certain time and then over and over again. But I think where I probably had to learn like routines the most was out of necessity for trying to do things outside of my 9 to 5 job. So when I started Shopskin, right before I came here at IBM, if I wanted to keep doing the business, I had to figure out what time I was going to do that at. Sure. And I think one of the things that I wasn't really good at all back then, and I'd probably say one of the things that actually I learned routines from, or like doing a consistent action every single day, had nothing to do with like productivity or me trying to like organize myself or anything like that. It actually came from trying to learn out how to be better at financial management, like randomly. And there were probably 3 people, definitely Gary Hoff, Chris Morrison, and probably one other person who had given me either books or like things that I needed to like read. One was like Expat Millionaire. And I think one of the first routines that I had to do was Gary, because I don't know if they still do it at companies now, but when I first got here, they used to give you your entire housing allowance up front, right? So you could move here and then pay for your apartment a year in advance. Yeah. Because that's how it used to work with like 1 check or 4 checks or whatever, but you just had all the money. And then I remember one time Gary came to me, he was like, if you really want to be good, you should save all the money and then not take the housing allowance up front. So then you get paid more on a month-to-month basis. And I was like, and then you can obviously then manage your money and everything like that better. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was like the first thing I had to do, which was setting up like an automated thing that took money out of my account and then put it into a savings account somewhere. And then to do that every month. And then you see that like small action of like just setting it up and the money moving out to somewhere else. And you see like your savings starting to stack up. And then at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I don't need the housing allowance. I can actually pay for my rents with the money that I actually have. So
How long did it take you? 1 year?
Yeah, probably a year. Yeah, probably a year. Because I think I assume he would have told me at the beginning of when I first took it. And then the year after that, I would have just been able to pay for the rent. I wouldn't have done like a full check, but it would have been like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think so that was where just learning like, okay, cool. It didn't take me any effort to do something consistently, but I was actually able to save a substantial amount of money without having to do much. So then when it moved into like, businesses and trying to do those things or do anything outside of work, it made it really easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to do one action towards this every single day. And like you talked about your fitness journey, I'm such not a gym person or like a fitness person. I honestly could not care less. Like I've got a dream of like looking like Anthony Joshua or like Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Like that's my dream. But the amount of thought I want to put into it is essentially zero. Like I do not care about like trying to pick my diet or like trying to count macros. I don't care about any of these things. I'm like, I'm just going to assume that if I go to the gym every single day and I do these like 6 exercises, it's all going to work out in the end. And every day, body gets a little better, get a bit fitter. We're now running 12Ks, which I was never running before. You know, like I can lift way more weight than I was lifting before. So like every day you just get better by just doing the thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that's just how I became such a routine person. Like probably from financial management and just being like, I'm just going to consistently go to like the gym and do things over and over again. And you will just get better at it. And I'm sure there was some book that probably told me the same. And I was like, I'll try that out as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting because like you and I are very different in that, because I am someone who like always needs people around and is very social, and you're someone who like can do things very independently at all times. And like for me, working out is I won't be going to the gym and just doing my things alone, because I'd be super lonely at some point, and I also love the kind of interaction with people. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to classes where I have friends, and then I'll meet them for coffee after or before, and I'll do like reformer Pilates, which is like the trend, and like they're also really nice people there, and I feel like it keeps me accountable because I said I'm gonna do it, and then there are other people in the class, so I feel like I should go, and I'm paying for the class, so I don't want to lose out on that. And then with the run, it's probably the only thing I'm doing outside a class, but I've gotten so many friends now who I've animated to run with me to do the training, because you know I'm only doing the half marathon in February because 2 friends said, hey, we're doing a half marathon, why don't you join? And I was like, ooh, activity with people. And then I was like, ooh, how do I get there? And then I was like, okay, I have to now train, but I don't like running alone. So, you know, you run with me, Mika runs with me, her fiance runs with me. So everybody's kind of like coming together to do weekly long runs with me, which is amazing. So I get to actually socialize and hang out, but also do exercise and activities.
Yeah. Well, if you think about that, because the half marathon was what, 21 kilometers?
Yeah, 21 point something.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say 21 point something kilometers. That's a big thing, right? But now every week you're doing what, 2 long runs to chunk that down, so that then you are ready to do the big thing, right?
Fingers crossed.
But you used like an app that broke it down for you, and then you only had to follow the path.
Yeah.
But I think now you're using the 12-week year. So how's that experience been using trying to get that 12-week plan together of like, these are the big goals I have. How do I break that down into like, because really all you're doing is just a weekly routine that's going to get you better, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the running part is, yes, I am using an app that literally broke it down for me. All I have to do is use my Apple Watch, click, start run, and I essentially run. It makes it easier to follow a routine. Well, the 12-week year, I really like the idea, but I think it's a bit different because these goals are now, yes, they're my goals, but now I am responsible for breaking them down. I don't have like a random app who's like, ooh, we have exactly this app that does exactly these goals that you have and breaks them down to the T, because I'm my own person and my business is unique to me. So there's no app that's already runners come here. You know what I mean? So I think I've been doing it the past couple of days now, and I've been breaking it down, and I think I'm doing okay. it's a lot easier when you already have somebody who's built a system to break something down than having to do the entire work on your own and then being like, this is where you start, because I don't know where my journey ends.
Yeah.
Right? So breaking, like in the run, after the half marathon, I know that's the goal, right? That's the end journey. So, and many people have done this journey, right? So they've been like, okay, if you run twice a week, you have to do X, Y, and Z. For the running part, you have to exercise the other days and so on. I guess it's different when it's your own business because you don't actually know the end goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just going to say, I saw a thing on Instagram the other day that resonated with me because that's where you get everything from. If I was on TikTok, it would be TikTok. And it was talking about, there was a guy talking to obviously someone on some random podcast that was like, the things that he's like, essentially everything that has been done, someone has done somewhere. And there's lots of different examples and things like that out there. You just have to find them and then pick out little things from it. Now, the only reason I mention it is because I guess there are lots of people who, for example, you want to be doing like speaking, you want to be getting people to speak up for their voice, you want to get, do your own podcast, all these things. There are people that have done them before, and I think the question that I'm asking is, how do you find it when there are so many examples of people out there? What do you end up taking from them, and then where do you find it difficult to be like, okay, that person did have a plan, but I don't know if that plan really worked for me, or that person did have a path, but I don't really get how to translate it. Like because I think it's probably one of those things that's more easier said than done.
For sure.
I do it, in order for me to do it, it's a very long process we can talk about afterwards, but it's definitely not an easy one to be able to go and look at people and be like, okay, cool, I can re-engineer how they got to where they are.
I think we have to break down that question again because let's
I'll
start
break it
again.
down into
break it
smaller.
down. Break it down.
So I'll break it down into smaller bits. So let's say there's 3 steps to the thing, right? One is finding inspiration. So you have to establish what it is that you want. Then you have to then be able to go look into the world and say, who are the people that are doing the thing that I want? Mel Robbins, as an example.
Yeah.
Right, as one of your inspirations. Then you have to think, okay, Mel Robbins, maybe somewhere it says, if you want to do what I do, this is how I did it, right? So then you can research her and try to refigure out her path. Then the last thing is then, how do you take what Mel Robbins did and then make it relatable to you?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think totally different. I think how I see where I want to be is when I look at something or read something or hear about someone and I'm like, okay, their big picture of where they are now is like what I'm aspired to be. I think I always struggled with, how do I figure out how this person got there? And I'm always like, I have to find my own journey. So in my mind, I'm creating my own roadmap because I feel like I want to be unique in the things that I'm doing, and maybe I'm doing it the hard way. I'm getting to places, so it works in some ways, but I'm sure there's an easier way for me to be able to do it that wouldn't take so much trial and error. But I think the biggest thing I would probably say for me was that I struggled for a really long time as figuring out who I wanted to be. And when you don't really know who you want to be, it is really hard to come up with a roadmap. Because I didn't want to give up the lawyer part totally. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be in the golf space. I wanted to be in the personal development space. I wanted to help people find their voice. I wanted to have my own voice. I wanted to be a speaker. Then I decided maybe I could be an MC. I went through so many different directions. And last year when I was working with a personal brand strategist, I realized how scattered my personal brand actually was. And if you'd follow me, you'd be like, well, what is she actually about? And like, oh my God, I could be about so many things. I haven't told anyone, right? And then when I thought, okay, it's golf now, I actually hated the fact that I picked golf because it made me feel so limited in who I was. And also, probably a year back now, I had another friend who called me up one day and she's like, I see that you're doing content, I see that you're doing it, but who are you targeting? Like, and I was like, I don't know, because I haven't quite figured out what I really wanted to do. And then with the TEDx, I think things became a bit more clear because I realized, like, golf is a part of me, golf is not all of me. Finding my voice has actually been a really big part of my journey. So this is the kind of story that I shared. I got to share how I went from wanting to be an actress to going into law to then deciding this is not for me, and then really working on finding my own voice. And this is where we are, like, at this point in time where I get to help other people find their voice. I get to talk about that. I get to work with corporate clients on how to establish public presence, how to use your voice in different scenarios when you're on stage, when you're speaking to a client. And I think the more I say these things and the more that I do these things, they feel so real. But they also feel like I actually get to help people, and I can, and my capability comes out. Whereas I think before I always doubted the capability a bit, although I don't know how true that is, but a little, in some ways. So I feel like now, like, the capability.
You were doubted, or you?
No,
I
I doubted myself. Like, I think now capability and authenticity to who I am kind of came together. Whereas before there was capability but not authenticity, or authenticity but like maybe limited capability. So I think now finding the sweet spot is really where you can grow. And now it's probably also easier for me to be like, okay, these are the people I can aspire to be. So this is kind of what I've been building now, and we've been building now, is the kind of like, now I kind of know where I'm going, and I can actually build all of these things. I can help other people. So I think my roadmap and my routines have become a lot easier now than I probably used to be. Did I go off tangent?
No, it's fair. I was just going to ask you the follow-up question, because now you're saying you've got your authenticity and your credibility, but then, okay, what is the middle piece? Because I guess the next question is really going to be for us, so because it's a journey that we're on, where's the end goal to that, and what does it look like?
I would say I don't want to have an end goal, because I think I always have this really big mindset of I can achieve so much, so I don't want to put a roof on an end goal. But I would say my goal for this year would be really growing the brand, helping people find their voice, helping people reflect on who they are and who they actually want to be, help them through that journey from feeling stuck to moving forward, helping more people. I have, from the TED Talk, I've started building the journal for it, so the Why Not Me journal. I've started doing a Why Not Me course. I'm working with two other founders on the corporate public presence and speaking workshop. These things are all moving forward. They're so amazing. And I think I really love the position that I'm in right now, because it finally feels like I'm in a place where I'm actually helping people, where people are excited to learn from me, where they also see value in the things that I do. And I think this is a nice place to be, although I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. But this would say are this year's goals is to grow and scale these things, to do more workshops, to have an online one and an in-person workshop that I do alone. Yeah, just to grow small parts of my business. And then I think the podcast is a really big thing for me as well, because I really like talking about progress. I really like talking about journeys, and I think we can learn so much from each other. So I think that also feeds into the pillar that I'm trying to grow. Now, in terms of, I mean, my big goal would be to have the entire ecosystem working like in harmony all together, where people are like, okay, this is the woman, the Why Not Me woman, where people go to who want to go from, you know, their life now to where they want to be. And I'm that person, and my books are about that, my workshops are about that, my entire brand is about that. But I think that part, I think this is the thing I've been struggling with the most, because sometimes I find it very hard to translate into like, how do I share this online? But yeah, I think this is the part where I'm at right now, is like, how do I not just do it on a small scale, but bring the things to life on a bigger scale? And I think, let's say that is the big goal in the end, is to scale this as large as I can.
Fair enough. Not a bad goal.
Yep. We're working through it. But it doesn't come without anxieties and fear of failing and fear of being judged. And I guess also the hardest part for me to kind of leave law entirely was the whole fear of being judged part. Because I thought I achieved this thing that everybody was so impressed by. And then when I was like, oh, I don't actually want to be a lawyer anymore, it felt like, one, I might let people down, but also like, people are always going to be like, oh, what is she doing now? Why did she stop doing law? Like, that's super weird. And I guess like in your head, you always think you're like the main character of everybody's life. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if it's just me who feels this, or if that's a everybody situation. But I guess like everybody that I've also spoken to, or who's like talked to me about some things, is like, oh, everybody thinks their situation or what's happened to them is like the biggest thing right now in life. But it's obviously only their universe that revolves only around them. And then we're all like here thinking about our little universes that we're kind of living in. So you might read an Instagram post of mine and be like, oh, why is she doing that? And then 5 seconds later, you're scrolling somebody else's post and are like, oh, why is this person doing that? Or like that post now. And your 5 seconds of like thoughts have already vanished by the other person. So I guess now my point is, do what you want and really don't feel like people will judge you too hard, because you would be giving up your dreams and passions and progress because somebody potentially thought for 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I think
judgment.
Yeah. I think 100%. Like we obviously host a lot of parties, have a lot of gatherings where there's loads of people and stuff like that. And there's a concept around hosting parties around the invisible guest, which is that like the reality is you can go into a party, but most of the time everyone is absolutely thinking about themselves and whatever's happening to them. So you can move through an entire party and not even be noticed, or you drop that thing and no one saw, unless obviously you dropped glass and people turn around. But other than that, like the reality is that people are in their own heads, living their own life, and thinking people are judging them the entire time. And there's countless like video examples of people being like, hey, what do you think that person was saying about you? Like, oh, thinking I was dumb or stupid. And they're like, oh, I thought you had beautiful eyes. You know, like, like that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but I think also like when you go to like social settings, right? And I think it's a really good example because like sometimes when you're having conversation with someone and you're like, oh my God, this is a great conversation, loved all about it. I've really gave my opinions on things. I've really thought like I let my voice shine. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, oh my God, what will they think of me? And it's like this random fear that you get. And then it kind of like lives with you in your head, but this other person's
They've already moved
at another
on.
party or somewhere else,
Doing something
completely different, forgotten about you, might not even remember like half of the things that you were saying because they were thinking about something else.
100%.
So if you really translate these small things of like social gatherings into like bigger things of not living out your dream because you're worried that somebody else like judges you for it.
Sure.
I think, I don't know, you really have to get over that because
I've got
I've
got a phone with probably
it's
like
your entire life that you're setting on the line for something like that.
I think it's I think beer fear is a really interesting one because it's like a grander concept of how you feel when you've left a situation and now you're like essentially you come to your senses or you're kind of reflecting on it now and you're trying to think, oh my God, what did I offend anyone? Did anything wrong? What was the situation that happened? Da, da, da. And 9 times out of 10, I won't say for everyone, but obviously 9 times out of 10, people are like, no, everyone really enjoyed you. But you sent me like a long message about like, hey, I'm so sorry that I dropped that thing that one time. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No one I know knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like,
but
also
I hope you
often,
had a good time, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, we've had friends at like gatherings or parties as well who like send you a message the next day who are like, I'm so sorry.
All the time.
For like being me. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you're saying, but you have no recollection of it because you're like so in your own world.
Yeah, already moved on.
Yeah, I think this is like a really big lesson I had to, or like a big fear I had to overcome. And I think I really did that in the last couple of years. And I think it took me quite a long time actually to get over this fear of judgment because I always like, I'm not going to obviously name names and stuff, but it's very interesting because I have people's faces in my head who I see as the people who would judge me. And this is now not from like social gatherings. This is actually like changing my life, changing my career, changing like going into entrepreneurship, building my own business, all of that. Putting myself out there on social media, writing on LinkedIn, doing any of these things. I actually have people in my head who are very close to like my, like they're my, not inner circle, but they're people who are like in my ecosystem. And when I used to think about doing something that scared me, I saw their faces and it was like almost a horror of why would Nikki do something crazy like that and not stick to the regular path of, you know, success, which is clearly law or something. And it took me a while to be like, no, even if you judge me, I don't care. No, even if you judge me, I don't care. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, judge me for the podcast, judge me for things that I say, judge me for changing my mind. I don't care because I want to change and I want to evolve and I want to grow and I want to be the person that I currently am and the person that I want to be in a year. So in order for me to get from 5 years ago to here to then in the next year to the next 10 years, I need to change and I need to do things that you might judge me for, and that's okay.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, and let us know what you want us to talk about. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions you want us to discuss in our podcasts, DM us on our Instagram, In Search of Progress. Love, Jeffrey and Nikki.